Chapter 9, Revealing Jemmy's Plan to Trick the Villains. Hold-your-nose Billy popped a clove of garlic into his mouth, ground it between his yellow teeth, and helped himself to a veal pie. "Nothing like garlic to clear the head and fend off the plague, Cutwater. Give the lads a ration of breakfast." The scrawny outlaw sliced off 2 thick pieces of coarse bread. He draped a salt herring across each slice. "Eat hearty, little fellas." "This smelly stuff?" Prince Brat glared at the bread and herring. "It's not fit for flies." "Well, we eat it regularly, worms and all," said Cutwater, picking the bones of the pheasant. "I'll starve first." "Suit yourself," Cutwater snickered. "This is the first time we've feasted off the king's own table, and there's hardly enough for me and Billy." Jemmy sat on the bed straw beside the prince and contemplated his breakfast. He examined the bread closely, hunting for varmints. The prince, he knew, had never been starved enough to pick out wild life from his grub. "Eat," he whispered. "I can't find any crawly things in it." "The bread's stale," grumbled the prince. "Stale enough to patch a roof, but I scoffed down worse." The prince began to nibble around the edges. Hold-your-nose Billy glanced over and grinned. "Take a chaw of garlic, whipping boy. It'll improve the taste considerably." Cutwater wiped his thin, greasy lips with the back of his hand. "Billy, how do we know the prince ain't laid a trap for us in that message? He could have said one thing and wrote another. Where will we find someone to read it off to us?" Jemmy lifted his chin to a regal height. "You doubt the word and honor of your prince? Insolent oafs! Curs! I'll have you horsewhipped." Cutwater yanked Jemmy to his feet. "Who you calling them names? I'll flog your hide pink as a salmon." Hold-your-nose Billy pushed him aside. "Keep your wits. It's worse'n common murder to lay hands on a prince. No need to break any more of the king's laws than we have to. If it comes to a flogging, there's his whipping boy." The prince's eyes widened and his face blanched white. The prospect of taking a whipping himself had never occurred to him. "But, sir, it wasn't me who called you names." Cutwater gave a sudden cackle. "Sir, is it now? That's more like it. But tell the prince here to keep his civil tongue in his head." Prince Brat shot Jemmy a poisonous look. The garlicky outlaw was leaning closer to Jemmy. "See here, Prince, it's not that we doubt your word or honesty. Not a bit. But all the same, let's hear you read off the message." Jemmy turned away from the man's breath and began to read. "No, no, lad. Let's have it from the bottom to top. Read it backwards. I do hope for your whipping boy's sake you don't stumble and trip as if the real words ain't on paper." Jemmy shrugged. "It says, 'Son, obedient, yours.'" "Your obedient son," said Hold-your-nose Billy. "Keep at it." "Jewels and gold of cartful of ransom a demand they." "Demand a ransom of a cart a full." The outlaw himself began to stumble and trip over the words. That's the ticket." Jemmy read the message through backwards, and then a second time before the hairy outlaw was satisfied. "Now then," he said, "all we gotta do is get the message to the king without getting nabbed in the act." "Simple," declared Jemmy. "Send it to the castle in the hands of my whipping boy."